New to social casinos? You're in for a treat. Most online casinos offer bonus cash or coins just for signing up. That's your own little participation trophy. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Fans hate them. Like, kids go to Giant games and they're like, my father forces me to come, or my grandfather was a season ticket holder. Like, no one has fun. It's a miserable place to go.
The Giants' problem has always been, over the last several years, and it's been the reason why Barkley never really got off, is the offensive line.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
If you're going to trade Durant, right, it means things are getting weird anyway. Teams are going to, before they go for Durant, they're going to go for Devin Booker. That's just the reality of it.
You get rid of Durant, or do you do the crazy one? Because you're so far out of the West, do you get rid of Booker? Because D-Book will bring you far more in a return.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Hour 2, welcome to it live right here on this Tuesday, in person, in studio. It is the early line on SportsGrid. That's me.
There you go.
They walk in and they tell us
good.
we're going on this
Gotta be a
camera
pro.
here.
Gotta be a
because
pro.
we're getting ready to go, and the rest of the lights aren't even working. And then we go, and now we go. Come on now. Look at us. We look good, though.
Yeah,
here.
we do.
It's a good-looking shot. I like the angle for it. Hour number 2, we welcome you to it with 2 more hours to go up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. He is Donnie, right side. I am Ben Stevens. A lot to dive into here in this second hour. Plenty of NBA playoff previews with our final second-round series beginning tonight between the Timberwolves and the Golden State Warriors. Minnesota now home floor advantage in the series favorite in the Twin Cities, as our producer Joe Frizo made sure that I knew, as I thought the Warriors would be the favorite for this second round set, and a bunch of Major League Baseball to recap as well, DJ.
Yeah, good stuff, by the way. Also, should you just be being blind underdogs in round number 1, or round number 2, game number 1s here in the NBA? Because usually rest versus rust hasn't looked that way. I'm excited to see what the Warriors bring to the table tonight, because if you're looking from their perspective, maybe it's a good thing for them, but also, where if you're the last home team in Minnesota, it's like, hey, man, we better not just sleep here tonight because we're supposed to win this game by rolling the basketball because we're rested. Yeah, you better watch out, Minnesota. How about that?
So far, all 3 of our series that we have seen, the 3 of 4 second-round sets that have begun, the home team in Game 1 as a pretty hefty favorite has lost outright, including last night, the Knicks winning in OT in Boston. Denver trailing by 13 points in the fourth quarter, coming back to beat Oklahoma City, courtesy of an Aaron Gordon 3 with 3 seconds remaining in game number 1. First time in the last 25 years of the NBA postseason, we have seen 2 underdogs of at least 9 points win outright on the same night. Let's talk some Major League Baseball to start off this second hour. A recap of a Monday slate around the bigs with a full slate Tuesday in store as well. Our first headline, DRS, you can tell this was written by our producer, Joe Frizo, producer extraordinaire and diehard Yankees fan. There is some anger in the final few words. Yanks bullpen implodes again and they did. Luke Weaver and the Yankees getting roughed up. They had a 3-0 lead entering the top of the 8th last night up in the Bronx. The Padres score 4 in that 8th inning, courtesy of Xander Bogaerts and Manny Machado. And then the Padres bullpen, very strong. Robert Suarez, the closer for San Diego, his 14th save of the season as the Padres come all the way back to beat the Yankees up in Yankee Stadium 4-3.
Yeah, Suarez is clean. He really is a good pitcher. But also understand this. I like the under yesterday at 8 runs here. Probably should have walked to an easy victory. You sort of had to sweat it out with a 4-3 finish. But understand this, too. 2 really good pitchers started that game. Nick Pivetta has been sensational here for San Diego. 5 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. Did give up 3 overall, but you only count the 2 against him. Look at Carlos Rodon yesterday. 6 2/3 innings, 3 hits, shutout baseball. Absolutely fantastic. And then the guy that's supposed to be the sure thing in your bullpen that you get, it's like nobody's going to score on him once he gets in. We can't put him in the 9th inning, the 8th inning, the 7th inning, no inning yesterday. 2/3 of an innings pitched, 3 earned runs, and 2 walks for Devin Williams. Absolutely astounding. He's not supposed to be the question mark. He's supposed to be one of the best, if not the best closers in Major League Baseball. It's been an utter failure for the New York Yankees. That's a tough pill to swallow, but also a lot of people involved in that loss. You look at the Yankees, that offense 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position, only scoring 3 times. Not good enough, but it just gets compounded when you blow a lead like that because your bullpen let you down with your high-priced trade/free agent in Devin Williams.
Yeah, absolutely so. And to think what the Yankees have given up, their history. So this guy can have a mustache and a beard for him to be this poor so far in his Yankees time. Of course, demoted from that closer role. Really just kind of the setup guy now.
10 ERA.
10 ERA.
Yeah.
3 earned given up yesterday. Luke Weaver credited with the loss. He wasn't great in trying to slow the damage for the Yankees in that 8th inning. But Devin Williams, the issue, has not liked his reception in the Bronx since he entered in pinstripes. It's been bad. Carlos Rodon, meanwhile, DRS, allowed at least 4 earned in 3 of his first 4 starts this year. In his last 4 starts, has planked the opposition in 3 of those 4. Should have walked to a win yesterday. 6 2/3 of shutout baseball against San Diego, of course, because that Yankees bullpen implodes again. The Yankees lose. The Padres win on the road, now 23-11. Matching the Dodgers along the National League West. Although I do believe the Dodgers did win yesterday against the Marlins. They did. The Dodgers now 24-11. Best record in MLB. Half game up over the San Diego Padres. Tough one for the Yanks. The other New York team, they continue to roll, DRS. The Mets on the road in Arizona. And when you look at 5 runs scored from the Amazons, Pete Alonso, 2-run home run. Francisco Lindor, 3-run home run. You did get things made very interesting in the 8th as the D-backs did score 3 and had runners on first and second with only a single out. But the Mets were able to limit the damage, and New York holds on for the 5-4 win out in Phoenix.
Yeah, great start by Griffin Canning again. A 2.50 ERA, which is pretty impressive for a guy that's not really one of those household names, now improving to 5-1 on the season. 5 innings pitched, only 1 earned run giving up. But also, this feels like a resurgence in Major League Baseball. Now, there started plenty of people striking out and hitting for low averages. But the fact that we take a look at a game we just previewed there with Aaron Judge, who went 0 for 3 in that game, still hitting .414 on the season. And Pete Alonso was Mr. Hey, man, if you can hit 235 and hit 40 bombs, that is an unbelievable season. And now you see Pete Alonso through about 6 weeks of the season hitting .350 and hitting home runs. That is absolutely impressive. I like what I'm seeing out of the Mets. Now, the questions we'll have a little bit later are, how good are the Mets? Can they actually be contenders? And this pitching staff that's overperforming, can they continue to overperform? But the one thing that we love, you're never going to get this out of me, Lindor, Soto, and Alonso might be the best 1, 2, 3 in baseball when they're cooking, which they are.
And Juan Soto hasn't been overly sensational in his Mets debut this year, despite starting to hit a little bit better at the dish. 5 teams around the National League have won north of 20 games, everybody at 22. The 3 out of the NL West, the Dodgers the most with 24, the Padres 23, and the Giants with 22. The Cubbies have won 22, and the New York Mets with a victory yesterday against the D-backs, now 23-11. The D-backs no slouch. They're still above 500 at 18-17. Scary moment yesterday for Cincinnati on the road in Atlanta, The Braves win 4-0 behind a great start from A.J. Smith-Schuster in that matchup against Brady Singer. DRS Tyler Callahan, the left fielder for Cincinnati, sliding into the left field wall. Looked like he made a sensational catch as he did make that play. but broke his forearm in a very scary accident. He should be out for some time. I would say don't look at the pictures or the replay if you are a little bit squeamish.
No, and you shouldn't do that, but there also are some slow motion visuals of that, which, again, I'm not talking about the visual of I want to see the broken arm. The guy made the catch.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many times do you see in Major League Baseball, a fly ball to a center fielder, he catches it, turns around, and whips it into the crowd? Oh, he didn't catch that baseball.
Yeah.
The guy made the catch. So even like that, insult to injury, the review is like, no, he didn't catch it. Took like 3 steps, like in football, controlled the ball, hit the wall, rolled over, and the ball came out. Like, it didn't count at that point. At least give the man the catch. Give him some dignity out of that.
Because of it, Matt Olson recording an inside the park home run because of the scary incident out in left. What is Olson supposed to do except round the bases because the ball was live and in play? I know why you were laughing. I said Smith-Schuster.
I was like, that's really good.
The pitcher for the Atlanta Braves yesterday in a gem to record a win. Tyler Callahan, we wish him the best in his recovery. Teoscar Hernandez for the Dodgers, exiting early in the Dodgers 7-4 win in Miami, set for an MRI on that hamstring.
And by the way, in that game, too, my 2 favorite RBI props, which I bet last night, were Ohtani and also Freeman. And, of course, they got multiple RBIs and each hit a home run in that. So level up, people. You can win some good money at that. But the Dodgers, always going to have a lot of respect. By the way, Alcantara, not the same pitcher we saw before the injury.
Unfortunate for the Cy Young winner now multiple seasons ago. The Royals keep playing great baseball. They beat the White Sox yesterday 3-0. KC's won 12 of their last 14. More on the early lineup next.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip, try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Back to Major League Baseball in just a little bit. A little MLB buy or sell here, live in person on this Tuesday on TEL but a new market has emerged.
Oh, yes.
And it will be a story for this NFL offseason throughout the summer months, courtesy of our Canadian friends at FanDuel Canada. The odds are out to be the Browns' Week 1 starting quarterback. A very jumbled quarterback room in Cleveland. Here are what the odds indicate as of this moment. The old wily veteran at 40 years old, Joe Flacco, is the favorite to be that Week 1 starter for Cleveland at plus 116, nearly $1 in front of the offseason acquisition via a trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. Kenny Pickett at plus 220. Shedeur Sanders, the 5th-round draft pick, plus 370. The 3rd-round selection in Dylan Gabriel is plus 830, the longest price. You do not see Deshaun Watson listed on that. He's not going to be ready for Week 1. If he plays another game in a Browns uniform, it would be an odds upset as well. DRS Flacco listed as the favorite to be that Week 1 starter. Do our Canadian friends have it correct?
Here's what I love, too. Like, that graphic alone explains you how bad the Cleveland Browns organization actually is. Because as Ben was going over, because, like, I know the segment was coming up and I saw what it was, but until it was, like, read out loud, like, yeah, we drafted a kid in the 5th round who's actually way better than the kid that we drafted in the 3rd round. Yeah. The kid in the 5th round should start, so therefore the odds will be. But understand this. Ben, let me ask you this simple question. Please. The Cleveland Browns' expectations outside of the head coach and the general manager and the owner is what? What is it?
To win 5 games, maybe?
Exactly. So then we see the favorite being Joe Flacco, where you want your franchise quarterback to start if you're having a bad season. Why? He's going to get experience, you're going to be bad, and you're going to get a better draft pick. It's like a win-win-win. We're not ready to win just yet, but also at the same time now, we're led to believe that Flacco is going to start at 40 years old for what on a bad football team? Make it make sense. And then you see like Kenny Pickett. Like, Joe Flacco shouldn't be there if you have Kenny Pickett.
For sure.
And if you're starting Kenny Pickett, he's not your future quarterback either. So what are we actually doing? I look at this and say it should be Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel to find out who your starter is, because you can't go halfway like they did in the offseason. Let's pay Myles Garrett. Let's lose football games. That doesn't make sense, but that's the Browns. And again, looking at that roster, it can't, day one, it cannot be Joe Flacco.
I mean, DRS.
Can't
again,
be.
Myles Garrett might be one of the funniest offseason storylines we really haven't discussed. It happened during Super Bowl week, the trade request, because he wanted to be with a Super Bowl contender, the way that Andrew Berry handled that, saying we still want this guy here. He's going to end up in Canton from Cleveland. And then Myles Garrett, because he was paid $40 million a year with over $123 million guaranteed. You understand
Incredible.
Why he is with the Browns franchise. The dollar speaks very loudly. But for Myles Garrett to say, they told me, don't worry, we got a plan in place at the quarterback spot, for this to be the plan is insane. Now, when the Browns traded for Kenny Pickett, whether it's fair or not, I think Kenny Pickett has some experience. Is he going to be the face of a franchise? Probably not. Is he going to live up to the hype to be a first-round pick back in 2022? Probably not. Is he worth trying out? I would say for a team that is not expecting to do a lot, with a head coach in Kevin Stefanski that has done a lot with very little, insert Joe Flacco in 2023, starting the final 5 games of that year, as the Browns won 11 and reached the postseason. But where exactly did that leave you if you are Cleveland? In a spot 2 years later to be drafting 2nd overall, of course, trading out of that and selecting Mason Graham 5th overall. So in the 2 hopeful spots, I think you could say, DRS. The first move Cleveland made this offseason to acquire Kenny Pickett for very little in return back to Philadelphia. All right, maybe take a shot on this guy. We shall see entering year 4 in the NFL. You drafted Dylan Gabriel over Shedeur Sanders because clearly you like Gabriel more in this draft process, and yet Shedeur has the better price to be your Week 1 starter. Both of the moves that you made with a little bit of hope are now the 2 guys that have longer odds than the guy that was acquired after them, either by a free agent signing for the 40-year-old in Flacco or 2 rounds later for Shedeur Sanders.
And again, it's simple math, too, because you really clouded, or should I say muddied, that quarterback room when you're trying to say, okay, we put the 2 rookies in there, and who's actually better? Did we draft him later to show him you better have more respect about coming to the NFL, but you're a better football player than 3? Let's remove that. Like, a healthy quarterback room would actually have been like, you know what? Our game plan is Kenny Pickett's going to be our starter. If a young rookie can beat him out, that's so be it. We'll put him at number 2, which would be Shedeur Sanders. Let's leave Dylan Gabriel out. But then we have Joe Flacco as that guy that's great for the room, going to help everybody out. And if the young quarterback at number 2 isn't ready to play in week number 2, we put Joe Flacco in so we don't embarrass ourselves and give us a legitimate chance to win that game. But the fact that we're seeing here, just based on the odds, like, hey, Flacco start, Kenny Pickett's number 2, and then the 2 quarterbacks that we hope to be our franchise guys will be later, understanding that we might win 5 or 6 games anyway, regardless of conditions. And that's why you should be betting with the lower ranks, like I need Shedeur Sanders or Dylan Gabriel. It's an unhealthy quarterback room. It's ridiculous that it was put together this way, and even more ridiculous now that we see the odds on who's actually supposed to start week 1. You say, yeah, let Flacco go. He's 40. He's not your future. You're not winning anything. Get your future started right now.
DRS, it's really inexplicable, and I think if you're every guy in this scenario outside of Joe Flacco, because he was a late offseason signing in the free agency period, you're a little bit pissed off right now. If I'm Kenny Pickett, why did you guys trade for me if I'm going to be the backup? I could have been the backup on a Super Bowl winning team in Philadelphia. I want my shot to start. If you're Dylan Gabriel, why did you draft me in the 3rd round to take another quarterback in round number 5? It's clear. You can argue whatever you want about Shedeur Sanders. We'll never know the full story of his draft slide and the stock that took a large hit throughout this draft process. But it is clear that Cleveland liked Dylan Gabriel a ton more in this NFL draft process than they did Shedeur Sanders. They had multiple opportunities before even selecting Dylan Gabriel to draft Shedeur Sanders. So Sanders shouldn't be happy because he now slid to the 5th round and is not exactly in the best scenario to become a starter. He's fighting to earn a roster spot. Gabriel should be pissed. If this was college football, Dylan Gabriel would be in the transfer portal, as would Kenny Pickett, and Flacco would be there at the age of 40 hoping for just a little bit more. To the point of your expectation question, we had 4 teams on draft night with a win total of 5.5. 2 of those 4 had juice on the over. 2 of the 4 had juice on the under. The most juice at the time, the New York Giants at minus 140. The Browns at minus 135. They have flip-flopped, DRS. The Browns now technically the worst win total in the National Football League. 5.5 is the number. The under juiced at minus 140.
It's actually brutal what they're doing right now, and I agree with those standings because I don't think they're going to have a good football season. Also, maybe if they just drafted Shedeur in the 3rd round and Gabriel in the 5th round, it would make a little bit more sense. Now the room doesn't make any sense, and neither do the Cleveland Browns.
Sean Watson still on the roster. More on the early line up next.
Looking for an edge in betting basketball? Injuries can make or break a game. Get insider knowledge from Dr. David Chow and the team of experts with Sick Picks at Sports Injury Central. We reveal hidden health-based advantages the sports books miss. Our doctors provide insights, and our algorithm tells you who to bet on. Spreads, props, totals, in-game bets, Sick Picks covers it all. Go to SickScore.com and sign up for Sick Picks and use the promo code SportsGrid for a free week today.
The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple 15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
First time on a casino floor and feeling a little overwhelmed? Well, here's a tip. Lots of machines have a free demo mode you can try for practice. So give those slots a spin in practice mode before you start putting down some real cash. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Time now for a little Major League Baseball buy or sell on this Tuesday, live in person in studio together. He's Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. Anytime you are joined by one of the hosts of Pro Baseball today, you got to talk a little MLB. And despite going 0 for at the dish last night, DRS, and a disappointing loss for the Yankees up in the Bronx against the Padres, Aaron Judge still having a monumental start to this season. He was the ever-so-slight favorite, battling with Bobby Witt Jr. to close as the AL MVP favorite before this year got started. Now it's basically a no contest, just over a month in to this 2025 MLB campaign. Aaron Judge to an American League MVP for the third time in the last 4 years, minus 1,000 to lead the bigs in home runs this year. Minus 140 to win the Triple Crown, plus 145 to have a 400 batting average at the time of the All-Star break, plus 850, a couple of new markets opening up. To have a 400 average the entirety of this MLB season is 41 to 1. So, DRS, the buy or sell question is not which of these bets do you like the most, but buy or sell. Aaron Judge is the greatest right-handed hitter in MLB history.
No, well, see, that's false right off the bat, so I'm going to sell that. Is he an unbelievably talented hitter right now, on pace to do some damage and be a Hall of Famer? Absolutely he is. And we just saw him in an MVP market that's basically 5 to 6 weeks old. He's a minus 1,000, which means if he twists his ankle, miss 2.5 weeks, he can't be the MVP and probably won't have those statistics. Shows you how talented he is. And also, what's going on in the American League and why can't anybody press this guy for a minus 1,000 to start? Let's understand from Aaron Judge what he's doing. The expectations, again, from a premier power hitter is he is going to take a lot of strikeouts because how do you get power? Swing with all your might all 3 times. He's hitting for average end power, which is astounding, to the point of over 400. This is something like a Stephen Kwan would do, like, hey, man, all I do is hit singles and I'm really fast so I can beat out ground balls in the infield. That's not Aaron Judge. What he's doing is crazy, but also understand this. You're taking a look at a guy like, the best right-handed hitters of all time and use a guy like Albert Pujols. You look at Aaron Judge, 300-plus home runs. I don't know the exact number. I had it a little bit up this morning. 703 for Pujols. 703. You take a look at the RBI market for him. 2,200 RBIs. Like, he's got a long way to go to be the best of all time. Is he the best right-handed hitter in the game right now? Yeah, you could probably say that. But all time, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. He's got to do this for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more years, what he's doing, to catch some of the great right-handed bats of all time.
Listen, he does have the history, of course, the American League record now 2 years ago, 3 years ago. When was that, in 2022? 2022, when he had 62 home runs, of course, the AL record, moving past Roger Maris. But where things stand for Aaron Judge, I would agree with DRS in the long pantheon of baseball. It has the nostalgia. It is called America's pastime for a reason. History is a very tough thing in MLB. Some notable right-handed hitters, as our producer extraordinaire Joe Frieso included. Hank Aaron, of course, Willie Mays, Joe DiMaggio, Albert Pujols, Roger Hornsby. I would still say right now Aaron Judge is in the mix, but maybe not the best right-handed hitter. It's difficult to also talk about at this moment. And then in terms of some of the markets that you see here, plus 145 to lead the bigs, to win the Triple Crown this year. That's the best batting average in Major League Baseball, most home runs, most RBIs. Aaron Judge has 11 home runs. That's tied for second most, alongside Kyle Schwarber, behind Big Dumper over there in Seattle. Cal Raleigh, his real nickname. Don't get mad at me. Also second most RBIs, an RBI behind Teoscar Hernandez for L.A., who, of course, is probably going to be on the IL, exiting yesterday's game early for the Dodgers. Aaron Judge is going to be in consideration, but he's not even leading 2 of those 3 right now at this moment, trailing by 1 in both categories. I do understand. But that's part of how you become the historic level best right-handed hitter we have ever seen when you make history time and again. Also, the 400 average is really fascinating. Aaron Judge had 5 consecutive games, DRS, of multiple hits, including Saturday, hit his 11th home run against the Rays. In the last 2 games, including 0 for at the dish last night, just 1 for his last 8. Still not bad. But his batting average dropped by 18 points in a 2-game span. So to remain around 400 just shows you how difficult that task is.
Yeah, it's almost impossible. So you take a look at those numbers. 400 for the season, that's not happening. But it's also not a plus 100 price. It's 41 to 1. 400 plus at the All-Star break, that's not happening either. That's a plus 850 price. Triple Crown plus 145, certainly within his range, because he could still have a 325 to 330 season, and that would be tremendous and probably enough to lead maybe Major League Baseball, if not the American League, in average. But looking at 400 400. Also understand this. We're humans here. We get frustrated. Sooner or later, pitcher's going to be like, I'm not pitching to the guy. So if you do the Barry Bonds, you see one pitch a game, you get overzealous at the plate here, and that'll probably drop your average as well. He's going to be having a phenomenal season. I just don't think he's going to be at that 400 marker anytime.
For sure. Historic, winning his third MVP award in the last 4 years, no doubt. The greater picture, maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later on. More on the early lineup next. Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never
They
does.
played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn
Ewers. Ever
Ewers.
got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian
Why
made
would it
very
be Quinn
clear
Ewers'
the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a seventh-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong.
I
It
just
is
told
incorrect.
you he's going to be number one overall. My whole thing was I'm
you're
buying
doing
him
your
because
thing now
I
where you
expect him to
double
have a
down on a
decent
take
No, I'm
that
not
is
doing that.
incorrect
The
when I
best
show it's
quarterback
incorrect.
prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a seventh-round
There were
pick
two
who didn't even
perfectly
play
rated
good.
quarterback
Stop
recruits
it.
in the history
Stop
of the
it.
sport.
Quinn
Vince
Ewers couldn't
Young
even play at
and
Ohio
Quinn
State.
Ewers.
He couldn't even play at
Vince
Ohio
Young
State.
and Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
We continue MLB buy or sell bright and early on this Tuesday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Let's look at the picture of the National League pennant race as of this moment, about a month and a half in to this MLB season. DRS, there is no doubt everybody is trying to catch the LA Dodgers, both in terms of the standings and the odds board. LA best record in MLB, 24-11, with another victory yesterday against the Miami Marlins. The Dodgers have won 8 of their last 9 games for that best mark around the bigs. But when we compare the opening day odds to where things are right now, the Dodgers are always going to have that short price. So we've had the same conversation that we're going to have at this moment that we had way back in March, back in January, back in all these times around the reigning World Series champs. Who can catch LA? Plus 140 now, the current price on the Dodgers, but still incredibly short. The move against the Braves, 2 games below 500 after that 0-7 start. They're playing better baseball, looking more like the team we expected. The Phillies back by $1 as well. The Mets have seen the move most in their way. 7-1 now, plus 490. And the Cubbies, 22 wins already, 12-1 now, plus 850. But buy or sell, DRS, the question to you. The Mets are the Dodgers' biggest threat in the National League.
Right now, you could probably say yes, but I'm going to sell that because I'm going to go season long at this point. And I told you, I like the Mets lineup. 1 through 3, it's fantastic. Got some good hitting pieces there, 4 through 9. But if you're looking at the starting lineup, how do you win typically in the postseason? Give me that dominant front line starting pitching here to go toe-to-toe with some of the best bats in Major League Baseball. I don't know if the Mets pitchers will be up to the task all summer long. We're only in the month. We just started May. We got May, June, July, August, and September, then into October. And you're looking at pitchers there. It's like, okay, let's lean on, back in the day, Jacob deGrom. That would be absolutely a dominant frontline starter. Syndergaard, like, hey, man, these guys can make it to the World Series and do some damage. I'm not saying the Mets won't make the playoffs. They're a quality team at this point. And just looking at the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, plus 490 price to win the National League, second place only behind the Dodgers. But then I look at other teams in the same division, like the Philadelphia Phillies. You want to have a 1-2 punch of, let's just say, any one given of Aaron Nola gets it together, has had some postseason performances. You take a look at Zach Wheeler, one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, and then coupled by maybe a Christopher Sanchez or if Ranger Suarez does get it together. Same thing, you can take a look here at the Atlanta Braves, just going over their depth chart. Chris Sale, who's one of the best pitchers in baseball last year with the Cy Young. You take a look at, Spencer Schwellenbach, who has had a little bit of a rough run, but he has that pedigree being a young pitcher that can have dominant stuff. Grant Holmes has been decent. Spencer Strider just goes back to the IL. If he's right by the end of the summer, I'm trying to line this up by saying it's not who's going to catch the Dodgers in the regular season. That's not the question here. Once you get to the postseason, how can you add up? And I just think you need dominant starting pitching to go toe-to-toe. So for me, I like the Mets, but I think the Phillies and also the Atlanta Braves, when they're right, if we're anticipating them to be right, I think they're going to be the challengers as opposed to the Mets.
And you saw it right there, DRS, in terms of the odds movement. It's what has made this start for Atlanta that much more concerning because even with the big acquisition for New York in Juan Soto, of course, the Phillies kind of have more of that playoff pedigree perhaps than their other contenders around the National League. But it was the Braves, despite some of the injury issues. We were awaiting the early returns of Spencer Strider and Ronald Acuna Jr. Now Strider on the IL. Once again, still some questions for Atlanta, but they had that second best price only behind Los Angeles. So the 0-7 start, where we've never seen a team start that poor to begin a Major League Baseball season and qualify for the postseason. We're still expecting the Braves to be there. They would not be, though, as of this moment. And there are some other teams in the National League West, namely the Padres and the Giants, who are looking the part of a playoff and maybe even pennant contender around the National League. Because, DRS, in that first graphic that we asked, neither of the divisional foes for the Dodgers were included. Neither the Padres or the Giants. So if we were to loop those teams into this fold, you think the Padres or the Giants provide the Dodgers a better push than any of the teams listed?
I mean, you could say they probably know them better because they're going to get a lot more playing time, and certainly that's the same division. But I look at the Padres here, not as strong a team as they've had in the past couple of years here. Same thing with the Arizona Diamondbacks, saying, hey, no, if Zach Allen can get back into form, maybe he could challenge. And then you take a look at the San Francisco Giants. I love Logan Webb. I love what they've done in the beginning parts of the season, but how healthy will they be? And also, still will they be on the same level that they're hitting now that, let's just say, in the months of June, July, and August? So it is going to be a tough race out there, and it's a compact race, but I'm just looking for the best teams to take a snipe out of the Dodgers. Now, granted, at the end of the summer, Ben, we're talking August, September, October, you're playing your best baseball. Maybe the Diamondbacks are red hot at the plate, or the San Francisco Giants, that you say, you know what, we just caught a hot team at the right time. But you really can't do that and pick and choose and say, oh, the Phillies usually are fantastic at the end of the season. We don't know that. I'm just looking at the starting pitching of what I've seen in the past couple of years, anticipation of what I'm going to get this year, and the way you take out the Dodgers. Because when you're aiming for the Dodgers, usually it's like, okay, that 1 through 9 is tremendous. They're going to have the bullpen and certainly frontline pitching. If their frontline pitching starts to stagger a little bit, what's your main advantage now? Give me a better starting pitcher on a day-to-day basis than the Dodgers have, and the Phillies can do that, and so can the Braves. I'm not sure if the Mets can.
I would agree. I think from the pitching perspective, you probably looked at Philadelphia first and foremost. Aaron Nola maybe not at that upper tier he was maybe just a few seasons ago, but at least on paper, 1-2 punch of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, probably a little bit more reliable. It's been what the Mets have done with their starting staff, though, that has been so tremendous. Not just Pete Alonso, not just Francisco Lindor, or even the slow start for Juan Soto, DRS. Their pitching staff right now, maybe based on name and brand, not as strong as you would think. But Clay Holmes, Tyler McGill, Griffin Canning, Kodai Senga, and David Peterson. Everybody in that starting staff. The worst ERA is Peterson right now with a 3.06 ERA. Clay Holmes, 2.95. McGill and Canning both at a 2.5. And Kodai Senga in his 6 starts, a 1.38 ERA. That's why I think the Mets have been so tremendous. But you wonder if that is going to drop off, and that is always what is going to win you more playoff games than most, having that best top 2, top 3 in your starting staff in those most critical games. The Dodgers have that edge at the moment, but the Mets have certainly kept pace. San Diego, to me, is the interesting one, because I think if you were to ask me right now, buy or sell, Mets being the best challenger for the Dodgers, I buy that. But I actually would say the Padres probably have the third best chance. But the Padres starting staff is also a little bit interesting. Our guy, Nick, pitching Pivetta. pitching outstanding in his start in San Diego. Michael King has been very stout and solid as well. Dylan Cease trying to find his footing. But, of course, Joe Musgrove out for the entirety, more than likely, of the 2025 season, recovering from Tommy John. But when you get to the back end of the bullpen, if the Padres have a lead in a tightly contested playoff game at this moment, I don't think there's anybody right now, DRS, in Major League Baseball you are trusting more than Robert Suarez, who just showed us that last night for the Padres again. 14th save of the season already in San Diego's 23 wins in the victory over New York.
No, and also it says something where they're used to that type of playoff baseball already. You're going to get into the playoffs. We're not looking at 7-6 games. You're looking at 4-2 games, 3-2 games, tight innings, and high leverage situations for those pitchers late in the innings. And also, we're not so much more worried about the Padres offense. It'll come back. You know, you have some guys like Jackson Merrill that are still waiting to come back off the IL who are lighting the world on fire. I do like that team overall, but also understand this. You're looking at a point where you want to take down the Dodgers, too. The easiest path to take down the Dodgers, have the best record you have. The Dodgers are going to win that division, which means, Ben, you're looking at wild card options for anybody out there in the NL West. Where in the East, somebody has to win it. Somebody might have an easier path, and you try to find that out. But usually, it's pitching is what wins in September, October, and early November, and we're just going with those price points right now, which, again, you're right. Michael King's been fantastic. If Dylan Cease can find it. If Nick Pivetta, who's been around Major League Baseball for a couple of years, can stay in it as well. And Randy Vasquez, one of my favorite fades in Major League Baseball with the high xFIP numbers there. We'll see if he can just be that fifth starter just to add some innings.
DRS, the team we really have not discussed at this moment, the Chicago Cubs, who were the favorites to win the National League Central before this year got started, 22-14, the only team above 500 within that division. The Cubbies now nearly a $4 favorite to win the NL Central at minus 380. You just talked about it from that playoff positioning standpoint. If the Cubs win the division, they're going to host a couple of playoff games at least to start off October. Can the Cubs provide a test as a true pennant contender? Or are you still a little bit wary?
I'm a little bit leery there because you had Justin Steele start the season. That's supposed to be your ace here, and then you line him up with Imanaga, like, hey, we'll try to play it out. But now it looks like, again, Imanaga goes to the IL. It's Tyone, who's a decent pitcher. Boyd's a decent pitcher. Ben Brown, okay. Colin Ray, Chris Flexen. It doesn't really bring that, oh, no, we got to face Tarek Skubal in game number 1 of a short series like Detroit would have. So that's sort of the layaway. But they can hit, man. The Cubbies can hit.
And they are hitting incredibly well right now. Kyle Tucker, the big offseason acquisition, and the youngster, Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA having himself a start to his MLB career here with the Cubbies. It's the injury news for Justin Steele and Shota Imanaga that make you a little bit cautious at this moment. More around MLB up next. Your college performance does not relate to the National Football League. It never does.
They played side by side with each other, and he wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. That's an issue. That's a major issue.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers.
Ever got to Texas.
It wasn't that it wasn't as good as Quinn Ewers. It was Quinn Ewers' program, which Steve Sarkisian made very clear the entirety of the time that Arch Manning was in Austin. So for you to argue that because Ewers is a 7th-round pick, Arch Manning is not that good and not deserving of being first overall is asinine. It is wrong. It is incorrect.
He's going to be number 1 overall. My whole thing was I'm buying
you're doing your thing now where you double down on a take that is incorrect.
The best quarterback prospect to ever hit college football can't play
He's
over
not,
a 7th-round pick
There were 2
who didn't even play good.
quarterback recruits in the history of the sport.
Quinn Ewers couldn't even play at Ohio State. He couldn't even play at Ohio State.
Quinn Ewers. Go look it up.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
We continue playing our favorite game. It is Buy or Sell, live right here on this Tuesday on the Early Line, a Major League Baseball edition. We've talked Aaron Judge in his chase for history this year, Triple Crown winner in the American League. What that would mean is one of the greatest right-handed bats in all of MLB history. We've talked the Dodgers' biggest challenger in the National League. Now the other side of this equation, some of the worst teams this year in Major League Baseball. And there is nobody, DRS, even remotely as bad as the Colorado Rockies. And that includes the Chicago White Sox, who historically were bad last season and are just 10-25 this time around. The Rockies are 6-28. 6-28.
Yeah.
That is the record for the Rocks at this moment. So the question again, not buy or sell, who's going to have the worst record at the end of 162 in the bigs this season. It's buy or sell. The Rockies are the most irrelevant franchise in sports, MLB, NBA, NFL.
I'm selling that right now. But by the way, let me just add on to the Colorado Rockies.
Okay.
And like when the franchise came in, it was a really cool color concept there. They actually played at Mile High Stadium. It was interesting. It was like, wow, this could be fun. They actually had some competitive teams. The Matt Holliday years, put up some numbers.
Todd Helton.
Yeah, exactly. Now, now we're turning into teams that, say, okay, money, it's about making money in Major League Baseball, professional sports, we get that. But the Colorado Rockies now are in a division with teams that are willing to go way over their financial means. And I'm not saying Denver can do that, but if you're looking to sell a front-line starting pitcher where everybody has equal money, let's just say I'm going to give you $250 million as a guaranteed contract, that pitcher is never going to Colorado. Because as much as we like money and players like money, and that's what you're supposed to do, you also sit back on your rocking chair when you're 65 years old and you sit down with guys like John Smoltz and Greg Maddux and Chris Sales and the Randy Johnsons and go, hey, man, how was your career? Finished up with a 2.01 ERA. That's awesome. Hey, Dave, boy, you were a great pitcher early on. You went to Colorado and took that money. What's your ERA? Finished with a 5.20. No pitcher is going to do that, which means the relevancy of the Colorado Rockies is going to be dipping in the next couple of years. But the question wasn't asked, is it just the Colorado Rockies across Major League sports or national sports? For me, do you know who it is, man? Guess what league I'm going to? What league would I go to? The most irrelevant franchise in sports. The NBA, yes.
And what's the answer?
The answer is simple to me. It's Washington. It's the Wizards. The Wizards have never made an impact in the NBA. Not once, never. You take a look at a guy like Bradley Beal and say, hey, man, he's making more money than anybody. He's playing in Washington. Nobody cares. And if I met more than one Wizards fan in my life, who I think works at the SportsGrid Network, that's all they are. That's all they are as a Washington fan. Who's a fan base of the Wizards? Have you ever run into multiple Wizards fans and be like, hey, man, Wizards are great? Like the Wizards back in the day were the Bullets and won a championship like in the late 1970s. Yeah. Completely irrelevant for 50 years in the NBA in a major market. It's by far the Washington Wizards for me.
So that's the interesting thing, right? The major market that is D.C. It's not like Denver is a tough place to be in terms of the overall market or drawing.
Beautiful city.
Beautiful city. Beautiful place to be. I would love to go to Coors Field one day. I hear it's a great place to catch a ball game, and it's probably a pretty cheap ticket at this moment. I'm probably going to sell the notion the Rockies are the most irrelevant team in 3 of our 4 major men's professional sports leagues in North America. I think when you think about the NBA as well, the Charlotte Hornets, probably not really moving the needle all that much in terms of what they have been and how successful they have been. But I hear the point about the Wizards in D.C. You're in D.C., you should be more. For me, I still think of the Wiz with John Wall and Bradley Beal and still have a little bit of relevancy in my mind. But I get to the point in terms of success, contending for championships, really has not been there. And the Wiz have been in a tank for what feels like the last 5 years. Is that going to change if they win the NBA draft lottery next week and get Cooper Flagg in the Cooper Flagg sweepstakes? Then maybe, just maybe, DRS still holding out hope. That's the Philadelphia 76ers. Here was the Rockies' opening day starting lineup.
Yes.
Brenton Doyle, Ezekiel Tovo, Ryan McMahon, Chris Bryant, Michael Toglia, Kyle Farmer, Nick Martini, Jordan Beck, Jacob Stallings. I think if you were to ask even the most devout of MLB fans, DRS, How many players do you know just based on name recognition? There is not many baseball fans that could be like, oh, yeah, man, love that Jordan Beck guy. I think he's in for a great 2025.
No, you're right about it. And again, superstars sometimes attract the talent and also enough to win. The Rockies have been to the playoffs before, but I just look at the franchise itself and say, well, like, where's the game plan? We're just going to draft. And again, it's just coming from, even if you get drafted out of high school. Yeah. Hey, man, congratulations. You went number 3 overall as a pitcher. Where'd you go? The Rockies. Like, I just can't wait to get out of there at that point. The baseball is not meant to play at elevation. And again, the Colorado Rockies, from what I've heard, and again, I've never been to Coors, one of the more beautiful settings you can have. Yeah. You sit up there, you see the Rockies in the background. It's a great day, great weather. You enjoy the ballpark. There's a lot of runs, and there's a lot of fun. But for baseball to make sense for me in Colorado, and I joked about it before, like, is there a way that you could build a stadium where you could, like, depressurize the situation and bring it back down to sea level? I'm sure technology in the next 15 to 20 years would actually be able to do that. That would save baseball in Colorado, make it viable, where if you are a free agent looking to go there specifically as a pitcher, you want to do that. I remember Mike Hampton, I believe back in the, I want to say maybe late 1990s, was one of the best pitchers in baseball being a free agent. Went to Colorado, got a massive contract, and he exploded on impact in there because it's hard to pitch there. And I think most pitchers see that and say, I don't care how much money you pay me. I still want to be able to retire and be like, yeah, I had above average record and my ERA wasn't a 6, where if I want to get to Cooperstown, they're not going to put an asterisk, oh, he played in Colorado, so take away 3 off his ERA. That doesn't happen here.
Frieza, we were talking about this the other day in the studio, DRS, and the ERA leader all time for the Rockies in franchise history is Ubaldo Jimenez, correct? If I'm not mistaken? It is. Do we remember what that ERA is? He's finding that for us. But that
Ubaldo,
is the ERA leader, Ubaldo Jimenez. 366.
Pretty good.
Number 2 is 405, Dion. So that just goes to show. And it's difficult in today's day and age to really make that pitch, to be like, hey, you're going to be our ace in Coors Field. Even if you develop a great starting pitcher, that second deal he's available to go to in MLB, he's probably trying to find somewhere else for the Rockies. I grew up in L.A., right? Dodgers play in the National League West against Colorado. I remember those really good Rockies teams of the early 2000s. Matt Holliday, Todd Helton, Troy Tulowitzki, Larry Walker even earlier in the 2000s and late 90s. They were a fun team to play and a fun team to see. They really haven't lived up to that now. You might be thinking, what about the Chicago White Sox? Worst ever record in Major League Baseball last year, 41-121. They have to be the least relevant franchise in sports because of how bad they are. They play in Chicago, and when you are historically bad, you take on a weird form of infamous relevancy in our lives. So maybe the Rockies can't see that, because 6-28, oh boy.
At least people go to watch the Rockies. The White Sox?
Yeah, not as good. More on the early lineup next.
Cosmo was supposed to fight Ciaran Clark, but he had to pull off injury. You get the call. You get to go in there. What was it like for you when you got that call, jumping in there and be part of this bantamweight tournament on short notice?
Terrifying, man. 2 weeks notice against a stud, but I've been preparing my whole life for it, and I couldn't say no to the opportunity, and saw what happened. I came in there and kind of shocked the world. Not kind of, I did.
Only on SportsGrid.
Malaysia Fawali, who you guys know I am a huge fan, has decided to switch allegiances and stay in league. And now she's going to go play for Kent Mulkey. Her, Flau'jae Johnson in the backcourt. It's going to be interesting to watch. You wonder sometimes with roster construction, maybe too much is not too good.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames, you did Dr. J games.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Rounding out hour number 2 live right here on this Tuesday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Back to the association, back to the NBA playoffs. DRS, we have had 3 of our 4 second-round sets begin, where the home favorite in game number 1 lost outright despite having that home court advantage. The Knicks win an OT last night as a 9-point dog against the Boston Celtics inside TD Garden. The Thunder up by 13 with 6.5 left. Lose to the Nuggets in regulation, 121-119, as a 10.5-point home favorite against Denver. And, of course, on Sunday, the Pacers go into the land and knock off the Cavaliers. Our 4th and final second-round series begins tonight in Minnesota between the Timberwolves and the Warriors. We'll talk about that opening game in just a little bit. But, DRS, we look at the NBA Finals MVP odds right now. And despite the fact that OKC lost game number 1, despite the fact that Boston lost game number 1, despite the fact that Cleveland lost game number 1, those are still the 3 short favorites to win an NBA championship, as the odds have detailed throughout our time, and thus their best players still the short favorites to win NBA Finals MVP. SGA plus 175. Jason Tatum, do not bet that number, never bet that number, plus 280. And Donovan Mitchell at plus 650. Those are the NBA Finals MVP odds at this moment.
Yeah, and we're taking a look, and most people say, like, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. SGA lost last night, and Tatum lost last night. Tatum didn't play well last night. The expectation is, you see with the finals, it's NBA Finals betting odds, which means the teams we expect to be in the finals with their best players, they're going to be favorites. But why not Nikola Jokic? He was unbelievable last night. We don't expect him to get into the finals. That's why he's at a 16-1 price. Yeah. And further down there, Jalen Brunson at 36-1. So it's a little bit early to sort of chime in to see where these will go. Now, you might get some really different numbers based on game number 2 if SGA ends up 0-2, which means Nikola Jokic would go from 16-1. Let's just say if it does go 0-2, right, where OKC lose the first games on their home court, you probably think Denver's going to win that series. Would Jokic then jump up behind Jason Tatum?
I would think so.
Yeah.
And DRS, one of the things I also, when you look at the individual, I don't think anybody is worth a bet right now at that price in comparison to their teams. Even the guys at the top, as we'll discuss in just a moment. But Nikola Jokic is 16-1 to win Finals MVP. Denver is 15-1 to win the NBA championship. Anthony Edwards is 12-1 to win Finals MVP. Minnesota has the 4th best price to win the NBA championship at 11-1. It is still worth betting those teams as opposed to the individual, although, of course, the argument is very sound. Are the Nuggets winning an NBA title without Nikola Jokic being at his absolute best? Probably not.
What was Jokic? Did we have this price point up before the playoffs started, NBA Finals MVP? Like, what was Jokic to start, or what was Jokic like even before the series started?
I'm sure we can find that number here.
Like, the reason I ask is, like, you see SGA, clearly the best player. Tatum, thought of as obviously the best player. Donovan Mitchell, the same thing, and Anthony Edwards. But, like, you get to the finals. Like, Jokic, last time they won, he was the MVP. Yeah. Nobody is going to be MVP over Nikola Jokic. There's not even a question mark. If they win the championship, he was going for 40s and 20s.
And it's a good point, DRS, because once you get to the NBA Finals MVP, it's not quite the debate we've had for the Final Four MOP odds.
Correct.
But, of course, if you have those stellar and spectacular championship moments throughout the finals, even if this guy was the best for your opening 3 rounds, and this guy has 3 great games in the 4 wins that you have, he's probably going to win NBA Finals MVP. Now, in terms of the biggest disparity, maybe not the biggest disparity, but the Celtics are plus 210 to go back-to-back as an NBA champ. Jason Tatum is plus 280. That's 70 cents of difference. Donovan Mitchell, $1.50 in the individual price behind his Cleveland Cavaliers. 5-1 for the Cavs, plus 650 for Spida. SGA is plus 175. The Thunder, despite the disappointing Game 1 loss last night to the Nugs, are plus 170 to win the NBA championship. You can see how directly correlated those two prices are. I'm telling you this right now. I've seen enough. Jason Tatum is not a top 5 player in the NBA. Because you cannot be top 5 and perform the way down clutch moments that Jason Tatum continuously does. Did he win Eastern Conference Final MVP last year? Nope. Did he win NBA Finals MVP last year? Nope. It was Jaylen Brown in both. Numerous times last night, he had the shorter and worse defender in Jalen Brunson on him to ice out the game in regulation, or Cat on him, who he should blow by each and every time. He settled for a contested step-back three, unable to get past either of those two defenders and convert in the clutch moments. There are some players that fail to convert in the clutch moments. They miss a shot. There are others like Jason Tatum right here, right now, at least based on what we have seen, that balk at the opportunity to take advantage of that clutch moment, passing it off for a terrible shot or passing it off to his teammate in Jaylen Brown. It blows my mind.
Yeah, no, in the big spots, your big players have to step up. And the expectations are Tatum is supposed to be the next guy, right? Hey, here's Kobe
top
to
three,
Tatum.
top five.
Exactly.
Top three, top five.
Should be MVP on a year-to-year basis, playing with a team that's won a championship. It is an ultimate indictment, though. Like, the Celtics finally get over the hump, and it was like, yeah, Tatum, you were a good player, but you weren't the best player on the team. That's got to be a shot, man. That is a
Twice
shot.
to win historic
Yep.
banner number 18.
Yeah.
More on the early lineup.